it's great to see Mark back playing. I'm a huge fan of Mark Selby. He gets a bit of stick here and there, which is just absolute nonsense. He is one of the greatest ever, if not the greatest ever match player we've ever seen. Just how he goes about his business out there in the arena, and that, he's incredible.
Well, I mean, I obviously agree with that. I mean, I know Mark pretty well. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, the criticism he gets is, like you say, ludicrous, really. I mean, he's made out to be some kind of grinder, right? But look at every stat, the scoring stat. Well, this year he's had more hundreds than everyone else, I think, or and nobody would ever say that. No, they think, oh, he's just ground his way to victory, but he's a monster scorer because he pots balls, and he
truly is. Yeah, there is just this weird. You're right. There is just this perception that he's sort of. I don't know if it's to do with how long he takes around the table or the way he goes about it, but he does seem to have an unjustified reputation for sort of slowing the game down. As you say, it's hard to argue with someone that makes as many centuries as he does. That's what you're meant to be doing.
He's just patient. So if the frame doesn't go open, he will go, okay, I'll get the sandbags out. Let's do it. But I mean, we talk about match players. I mean, ultimately, you got to pot balls. We were talking about that earlier, but he knows his way around the table. But if he stopped potting balls, he wouldn't be anywhere. Do you know what I mean? That's ultimately the most important thing. So he is incredibly amazing scorer, and that's the reason he's up there.
But you look at Mark as well, and you talk about these great match players, and for me, he probably is the greatest match player of all time.
Yeah.
But he is ultra aggressive, and you look at how he just sort of bides his time before he strikes, and when he does, he hits you hard, doesn't he? But he's almost like 2 or 3 shots ahead of you, even, because he kind of like preempts where you're going to leave him, and he backs you into a corner where you've just got no shot. I mean, Mark, Holty, you'd have played him more times than me, but I remember the one time I played him, it was out in Berlin in the German Masters, and I've never been so in bits in a game of snooker, not like emotionally or mentally, just actually in bits on the table with no return, no shot, didn't know what to do. He just backed me into a corner where he said, right, you're going to have to take that on now. And that's what he does. He just forces you into doing things, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think from a purist point of view, that's just as exciting to watch as someone just rattling off the brakes as well. That that someone outmaneuvering it, someone winning a long, like Hendry will always complain about a frame that goes on longer than about 5 minutes. But I think there's that thing of players exchanging blows, like Selby and Allen in the semi-final. I think it's a very big part of the game. It can't always be century after century.
We're going to talk about this obviously later, I think, about who you speak to on a flight. But when players have talked to each other, I would say if everyone's at the best over 4 sessions and I had to put my house on someone, I'd have it on Selby against anyone.
Yeah, it's
because he hasn't got a weakness.
He just knows how to win, especially when it's these long matches. It feels like the longer it goes on, the more you back Selby, basically.
Always.
Just on this subject of match players, I mean, most people would say O'Sullivan is the greatest player, and then you talk about other people like like our old mate Hendry, sort of in the same light. But when you say Selby's maybe the greatest match player, what do we mean by that exactly? Just the ability to win long matches, or just the way he approaches it? What differentiates a match player like Selby from just the greatest in a vacuum sort of thing?
Well, I suppose you're looking for a weakness in Mark Selby's game, and like Holty just alluded to, there just isn't one. You look at his scoring when he gets in, he's pretty much killing the frame off in one visit. Tactically, he's probably the best there ever is. Mentality as well. It's like if you was a percentage closer to being like Mark Selby, how he thinks and goes about his business out there is unbelievable. And I think that conversation about the greatest of all time, Ronnie obviously is the greatest of all time because of his talent and what he's done and what he's won. And, he's a one-off. But in terms of an all-round match player, like Michael just said, if you was to put all the best players throughout all the generations into one arena, all at the pomp, at the best peak of their powers, I would agree. Mark Selby is the ultimate player for me because he just doesn't have a weakness. And even when he's not playing well, he's able to just change his game slightly to then refine that form and still get the results.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got every trick.
And he's got about as much bottle as you could ever have.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, he seems just unshakable regardless of the match situation or even the frame situation. So there you are. Selby's a freak. You heard it here.
In the nicest possible way.